Hey, I am just about to release a new utility called PRG Alias Maker, and I thought I should take the opportunity to talk about what PRG aliases are and what they are good for. So we can see here on my desktop that I have these items set up, and we can click on these and we can color code them, we can rearrange them, and each one of these is an alias to a different game. Now, let's say I double click on this alias here. It's going to open the PRG Alias runner, and this summarizes basically everything that there is in the metadata file about this game. So this is the file that it's actually going to load and run. This is the device the file is stored on. This is the partition where it's found. This is the path where it's found. And we have a little extra information here, like that this game uses a joystick and port 2. As I click on these, you can see that, for example, the path has changed, the joystick number has changed. If I click on this guy, okay, this uses both joysticks. How about I try, I don't know, this one here. Okay, this one's in a different subdirectory with joystick port 2. So now if I want to run one of these, all we do is we click the run button. So I'll do that. Now, PRG Runner, it will handle swapping devices, mounting disk images, and restarting the machine and booting the game. And it also has backed up the operating system into the REU if you have an REU. So now that we're in the game, and we can see that this is totally live, all we have to do is reset the computer. Now, I'm on a Commodore 128, and I've set up auto boot. If you're on a C64, you will just push the Shift Run Stop button. Okay, so I'm going to hit the reset button, and this is going to auto boot. And it's going to switch into C64 mode. But if this was a regular C64, you would just hit Shift Run Stop, and boom, we're back into the operating system here because it was restored from the REU. So it's pretty cool that we can have all these aliases set up, and they have nice names, and they're all grouped together in their various, categories of types of games with colors and so on a desktop, even though they all come from different places. And sometimes they even have to do special things like swap device numbers. So let's pop on over here to our file manager. And I'm going to go all the way back to the start of my CMD hard drive and my C64 OS partition and my OS partition. Now I could also get to here by saying Go System. And down here there's a standard system subdirectory called PRG Aliases. So we're going to go in here, and you can see that these are all files that I've set up in the past. And you can see that they're all only one block long, one block big, because they all are just metadata files, right? These are just PRG aliases. And we can also open PRG Runner here, and we can click on any of these, like this, and we can see where they come from and what metadata they have. Okay? Now, there's something even cooler that PRG Runner can do. I'm going to show you, I'm going to delete a couple of these. I'm going to delete these 3 here in a row just because I want to show how these get created. So we're going to scratch these. So we'll start with something simple. We'll make the one for supercars. Okay, and then I'll show you Scene World, which is a little bit more complex, but it's pretty cool. So we will go to our CMD hard drive, and we'll go to our games partition. Sort alphabetically. There's games. So here we have the actual games files organized in all kinds of ways. I put some of them in subdirectories if they have multiple files, and they have all their original file names and so on. So I'm going to go into the supercars subdirectory. Now I grabbed this one from I think C64.com, And you can see that there's different versions of it and different files with different file names and stuff. And I know that this one here is the trainer version because I've loaded it up and run it before. So I'm going to make my alias to this file. You can have it selected by default or not. So I'm going to go into Utilities. And I'm going to pick the PRG Alias maker. And you can see that as we pick these different files, it is filling in the name here. So I want this file here. Now this is kind of a default name for the alias, but I'm going to make it nice and clean, right? Because I like when the name is really, you know, just the name of the game, right? Supercars. This here is the serialized C64 OS file reference to where this file actually is. This is a device number, partition number, the name of the boot file, up to here, and then the path is further over here. So we have options. If we need to swap our device to 8, we could click this. This is already on device 8. Start with run means if you load this program from the ready prompt, if you need to type run in order to run the program, you check this box. Most are like this, so this is checked by default. Next, we can turn on which joysticks this uses. It uses port 2, which is kind of the standard. And we'll leave advanced for later. So this is all we do. We just click our file, type in our name, and we just clicked port 2. That's literally it. We just gave it a name and click port 2, and we hit create. And so now, when we come back over here to our PRG aliases, we're going to refresh this directory. And we can see that we have this new file here. So we could open this file using PRG runner, just like this. But we can also go over to our app launcher. And if we wanted to get supercars on our desktop here, we could say add alias. Now this is going to open the standard open dialog box, just like this. And this is already in PRG aliases because that's where I left it. So we can just scroll down here. We can pick supercars, hit select. That's going to plop it on the desktop, and it's going to leave this window open so that we could add multiple aliases to the desktop. And when we're done, we just close the window like this. And so here is supercars. There it is. So now if we want to run it, just double click it. And here's all of our metadata. And we just hit run. And just like Ooze, it's going to reset the machine, and it's going to load the game. And if it needed to do any sort of device swapping, it would do that. We got some music here. Okay. And obviously this game has been crunched, so this is why we're seeing this kind of, you wouldn't have seen this in the original commercial version of the game. And you know, yeah, sure, those are all trained, right? So we'll just skip by all that. And here we have the game. So now we'll go back to the operating system. I'm just going to reset the machine. We're going to auto boot here. I haven't timed this, but it's, I don't know, five seconds, something like that. So that's pretty cool. But let me show you something that is truly powerful about PRG aliases. We're going to go back to File Manager. This time though, instead of adding just a sort of a regular game, we're going to add an issue of Scene World. Now I've got, Scene World is in a bunch of disk images, and the SD to IEC can mount disk images. Now my SD to IEC is on device 10, so we're going to go into this, and we're going to come down here into Scene World. And by default, you know, I'm going to, not by default, but by choice, I'm going to go into Scene World issue 12. Now I've already created a swap list here, but I'm going to scratch that because I want to show you how I created a swap list. Now, you can see here that Scene World is being distributed as 2 D64s or everything together as a D81. Now, obviously, in reality, in practice, we would just use the D81. But I want to use this as an example to show you how, if a game or something else like Scene World came as just 2 disk images, how do we make a swap list? So to make a swap list, we're going to start by going File, New, Sequential File. And we get a new file called newfile.t. Now to rename that, we'll say File Info, and we're going to call that swap list. Okay, so now we have a file with a name. We can see this is a sequential file, 1 block big. So we'll go down here to Extras, Mini Edit. And here we can edit this file. So I'm just going to type in these 2 disk image names. So SW0 12a.d64, push return on that line. SWO-12b.d64, push return on that line. Now, there's one thing that I need to talk about. The SD2IEC retains its CBM file type information in one of 2 ways. It either adds an extra extension .seq, or it wraps the whole file with a .s00 wrapper. C64 OS prefers wrapping files with the S00 or P00 wrappers because it increases the file name compatibility. The problem is that when the file is wrapped like that, it cannot be used by the mount swap list command. So I've extended mini-edit with a special feature which I call blessing a swap list. All we have to do is, instead of clicking save, we just hold the control key and click save. And when we do that, you can see this file right now it's a sequential file, but if I say options refresh, you can see that now it's actually a PRG file. So what holding the control key did there, what blessing it as a swap list did, was it temporarily put the SD2IEC into extension mode 0. Then it scratched the original file. Then it created a new file with the same name, but of type PRG, and it wrote the data out to it. Then it restored the file name extension mode to extension mode 2. And so by so doing, we've made a swap list which the SD2IEC is capable of mounting. And it was all we really had to do was hold control when we clicked save. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go into our utilities. We're going to open the PRG Alias maker. But this time, we're going to do something a little special. You know what? I forgot one step. One moment. So we need to know what the boot we need to know what the file name is that we're going to boot from inside the first disk image. So I'm going to mount this disk image here. So technically, we could use like a star. We could just say the boot file is star, and that would pick this file here, and that would work. But I want to show also that in this case, this is an intro loader, and if you want to just skip the intro and get straight into the magazine, you can run this. So we're going to copy this file name to the clipboard. Just in case there's a special character in there or something, we can copy it to the clipboard. So I'm going to say Commodore A to select all, Commodore C to copy to the clipboard. Okay, so now I've got this file name. It's not the first one, so star wouldn't get this file, but we've got this file name on the clipboard. So I will unmount the disk image. And now I'm going to go into the PRG Alias maker. Scroll down here to PRG Alias maker. Now this time, you see we have these disk images and a swap list. So we don't actually have a boot file to pick, right? So I'm going to pick the swap list. Now, of course, I don't want my alias to be called swap list, so I'll give it a nice name, like Scene World 12, like so. And we can see that this original is now to the swap list. Now, in later issues of Scene World, it is able to be run from any device. But in these early issues, it can't be run from anything other than device 8. And you can see that my SD2IEC is on device 10. So we're going to just click swap to device 8. And the PRG runner is smart enough that it can actually rearrange the device numbers in order to accommodate this particular program. Now I happen to know that port 2 works with the joystick. And next we're going to go into the Advanced tab. Share's IEC bus is checked on by default. This is used for some rare cases, such as Sam's Journey, which cannot be run if there are other devices on the IEC bus, because it uses a special speed loader routine. So this is on by default because most programs can share the IEC bus, but for those that can't, if you decheck this and you were to create the alias like this, when you go to run it, PRG Runner will actually tell you, oh, sorry, you have another device on the bus. You actually can't run this right now, and it'll just save you the headache of having it fail to load. So for Scene World, we're going to check this other advanced option called Mount Image or List. So we click this. Now you note that typically this right here is the boot file, but our boot file is actually inside the disk image. And so when this is not checked, you can see, oh, we can create this. But the moment we check this, we need a boot file. And so this button has become grayed out. So we're just going to paste our boot file from the clipboard. And now it knows, by the way, that whether it is an image or whether it is a list by the extension. So a D64 or D81 is going to be an image, and if it doesn't have that extension, it's going to treat it as a list, and it handles that slightly differently internally. So we're just going to hit create now, like so. We're going to come back over here to tab 4, and we'll say refresh, or we could hold Control R. So here is Scene World 12. Now I'm going to go over to App Launcher, and I'm going to come over here to my workspace desktop. And here I'm going to say add an alias. And this is going to open the opener utility again. And here we're going to pick Scene World 12. Close this. All right, so now Scene World 12 is actually just on this desktop. And we could leave it there, and we can come back into it whenever we want. So now, when we want to open Scene World, we just give this a double click. And check this out. So here is the file that it's going to run from inside the first disk image. The swap list and the disk images are stored on device 10, but they're going to get swapped to device 8. They're in partition 1, and this is the path to the swap list. And then this is telling us that the joystick is in joystick port 2. So all we have to do is click run, and this is going to change the CMD hard drive to device 9, change the SD to IEC to device 8. It's going to mount the swap list. The swap list is going to mount the first disk image, and then it loads the boot file from that first disk image. And here we are. We've even got music. Okay, and so here's the thing. If I go here and I say I want something that's early in the menu system, it's just going to load it, right? Because that's found on the first disk image. But now let's say that I pick something from kind of down here. Say I'll say opinions. What have we become? It needs the other disk. So we just use our finger and we touch on the forward button on the SD to IEC, and that is going to go to the next disk image. Click the button here, and boom, we have just switched disk image to the second disk image. And of course we could switch back to the first disk image just by hitting the back button. And when we want to go back into C64 OS, we're just going to hit the reset button. Now, there's just one tiny other thing. That this is my particular setup. I've got my CMD HD configured to not reset when the computer resets. So I'm just going to push the reset button manually. Normally this would be done automatically for you when you push the reset button. And so I'm going to push the reset button, and we're going to auto boot back into C64 OS, just like so. And literally that's all you have to do. You just hit the reset button, and look, the devices are now back the way they were before. We're back in the operating system. the swap list has been unmounted and everything is back exactly the way it was before. So, you know, PRG Runner can do so much more than just launch a PRG. It can actually reconfigure the drives on your computer, and it can warn you about whether the system is compatible with this program. Here, look, like I'll show you. I'll show you Sam's journey. I've got a PRG alias for this one configured, and it tells me cannot share bus. It's going to swap the device to device 8, but it says can't share the bus. So I would have to disable my SD to IEC, which I can do. I'm not going to show you how to do that right now, but it's kind of cool that the PRG runner warns you ahead of time. Oh, actually, you got to disable this other drive. So I hope you get an idea about what the PRG Alias Maker can do. It's a new utility which is being released for free for download, and you can just run it on C64 OS version 1.07, and I think it makes it much easier, much more intuitive for setting up your PRG aliases. Thanks for watching.